Hey, welcome back to Happy Little Notaries. Today we're going to be talking about this fun little image that we have going on here, what it is, what it's doing, and why it is exposing something about your brain that isn't there. So let's just dive right in. We're sitting here on the color page, or the edit page actually, not on the color page today. But what this is an effect. So you can go to the website. There's a link in the description to get this effect. But normally we would just go and drop in, say, an adjustment clip. Let's just do this over here, somewhere new on our timeline. Go over there. That adjustment clip has nothing, and we can go into our effects, and there's one called RGB Loom Sweep Black. If you download it from my website, and it brings this up. And then it has some settings. So you just pick your output color space, your output gamma, that is your display space that you want to be looking at the image. And then apply forward OTF. It gives you a more accurate result for what's going on in this. But then it has some settings. This just changes our ramp shutter. So this kind of just is a transition, pretty much just a swipe. What is it? One of the transitions, I don't know, it has a name, between these two images. There's this and this. And then we can also, once we have some of the shutter set at the width that we want, we can also just set that there. We can also tweak how they're spaced, so that width, but we can space them out. So it just gives us some settings to be able to change how that looks and feels. And then we got this where we can cycle it, and you can see here that those stars are going up and down. The overlay is just an on-off. You can fade it in, fade it off, and then the markers, turn those markers on and off, just like that. And then you can blend it. If you have it over a background, you can blend it with whatever image you're working on. You can drop this, because it's an effect, straight onto a clip. It doesn't have to be on an adjustment layer. But visually, this is playing a trick with your brain, and it's teaching you what this is the perceived luminance. So if we scrub over here to blue in this RGB mixer guy, you can see our perceived luminance here is 7.54%. And we can turn this ramp on. And so what's happening here is off the center line of the image, we have black, and then on the top edge, and we can go, I can show you guys here, we can go here, just go blop, 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 hop over, make sure that our color picker is here, and tell it we want show picker RGB value, and just go off our, so you can see down in the bottom left hand corner of the screen, our picker hits 0 right in the dead center, so close. And then up at the top we're 255, 55, 55, 55, right, pure white, right there, right at the edge. So it's technically going from 0 to 1 on the scale in terms of it being a gradient going horizontally. And if we go back to the edit page, you can see we're right there. What's happening on this page, and so it's just a straight gradient. There's no variation, no nothing to it. And we can just bring this down, and now this is just color gradients going left to right. So they're equally spaced, blue, all 6 vectors, equally spaced, and then transitioned and faded to each other. So they transition horizontally. So the vertical axis going up and down on our image is consistent. So there is no change. If we go here and we look at our picker, once we're hitting, it's all blue straight through the center. It's when we start to fade that it's changed. So it's blue straight up, and here at purple it doesn't change. There is in the transition various numbers as it transitions, and then there it is, boom, right there, 255 for magenta, and the same for red, and the same for yellow. There is no change vertically. Where there is with the gradient in terms of there being a vertical change. So this is where now we see an effect that takes place. If you look at it when these are equally spaced, you should see, if you look at my mouse on the cursor, there is a line, like a break line. You can see it kind of in terms of where it goes from block to a luminosity. And so this is your perceived luminosity. This is the point, how these images overlaid with no effect. There's nothing to them. They're just overlaid as stripes. As we scroll the RGB left and right, you should be able to see a line generally about where those red dots are, the red stars are. And they're tracking with a calculated perceived luminosity. And you should be, yeah. But the thing is, if we go like that, say right there, if we say that's where that little line is going, rising up to yellow, when we crank up the shutter width, there is no gradation, there's no line there. And there's no line on the other image. It's just when you put these two together like this, your brain takes it apart, puts it back together, and rigmaroles and says there's a breakover right there in terms of our perceived luminance coming from our display. And this is one of those weird color theories, science things that affect how we think about and talk about things. Because here, where we have the color yellow in an image, it should appear to be brighter than when we have blue. And if that isn't true, then we have something called a polarity. I think I'm probably gonna get in trouble from the guy that wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for saying something wrong about this. But if blue has a perceived luminance value above yellow, then we would say that the polarity is off, I think. And that's when you're going to see and say that the image is broken. So when this isn't true in your finished image, that's when we have a problem. Anyways, if you want to play around with this and be like, and look at it yourself, there's a link in the description. And yeah, you can hit this and go get that. It's at the Happy Little No Trees website. And yeah. But that line, that arbitrary line, is something that you are imagining. I'm still working on, this is version 2 of this effect, so I might need to make some tweaks. There's, I think, yeah, there's something that might be off with how the math is working on the grain. It should be a little bit low, maybe. Maybe I'm just seeing things. I don't know. The world's a weird place. But anyways, fun little effect, fun little breakdown of that, of being able to see chrominance against perceived luminance based on what the display is putting out. So, but yeah, I don't know what else to say except go play around. Have a good day.